Everybody, welcome to my office hours. This is Jay here. I am glad to be talking with you here today. We're going to be talking a little bit today about tox and talking about a little bit, but mainly just doing the legwork it takes to get it working. So I'm going to start out with just a quick overview in case you're not familiar. Tox is a pretty neat piece of software. I actually like it a lot. Kind of like the category it's into. It's pretty nice. That the idea is with Tox is it automates the creation and running of your tests for you. So OpenStack uses it extensively. So that means if I want to run tests on my project, I just have to run Tox, pick an environment. Usually that's like a Python version or like picking a linter or coverage environment, that sort of thing. And it creates a virtual environment, manages it, gets it running. In fact, there's several projects that we even use Tox as a tool. If like it's a utility repository that you run a few commands from, you might even be like running tox-evm -- the command you want to run and just use it as a virtual manager. So super useful piece of software, but like the fact is it kind of like a meta level introduces some problems. So like, for instance, with Tox, that's a piece of software that I'm installing on my local system. I have like the Gentoo package for Tox installed and not something that's installed based on requirements.txt or whatever. So, hey, Jacob, thanks for stopping by. So that means that it's not like a typical library breakage where you sort of can pin it in older versions, unpin it in newer versions, and just fix it to be capable. Because in our case, someone might need to go patch that stable version. And do we really want to ask them to install or change what Tox version they have installed based on what branch they're working on? No, not really. That's not what we like. That's not good. So this means that we have to fix compatibility for Tox 4.0, but it also means we have to backport all that compatibility back. And when you're talking about multiple different repositories and the fact we support several branches off them, that matrix kind of explodes. So I spent quite a bit of time this morning. I've not done a request like this in a while. We're going to look and see owner JF, and we're going to look at status. We're going to look at status merged. And we're just going to look at this, and we're going to see that today I have already pushed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37. So already today, 37 separate patches have been pushed here to get Tox working across our projects on different stable branches. So like, that's good stuff. Like that all got in, it got merged. That's done in maybe 2 or 3 hours, which is pretty cool. It's helped out a lot by when you're changing to tox.ini, you only have to run unit tests, coverage, that sort of thing. Because we don't use Tox to run our functional tests. That uses another OpenStack project called Tempest. So let's have a look at my dashboard. Let's look at the unmerged versions of these changes, because that's one of the things we really have to look out here is what versions of these Tox fixes haven't merged yet. Answer the question, why haven't they merged yet? A lot of them might be failing CI. I might have rebased them wrong or something. I mean, I basically dumped these out in bulk. So we're going to basically find if there's any top-level patches that are failing. If so, we're going to look at those first. And I think our first winner here is actually going to be Virtual BMC. So Virtual BMC, I saw this failure earlier, and I rechecked it because it was such a strange failure. I didn't really know what was up with it. So I did a recheck on it. It was a weird and saw if it reproduced, and the answer, of course, is that yes, it did reproduce. So we're going to take a look at the coverage job, and we're going to see why it failed and if we can fix it. And I believe this is going to be, and it is, an error about missing a lib0mqso5. So, and that's interesting. And this is on Python 3.10. So I'm willing to bet that if I come over here and I look at this Python 3.10 test that's failing, is going to be failing in a very similar way. It is. Okay, good stuff. So, we're missing something. I don't know what we're missing yet, but we'll figure it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go look. This is just github.com, OpenStack, virtual BMC. We're going to look at this bindep.txt. So generally, bindep contains binary things you need to have installed in order to build and test your things. So in this case, I think we might be missing something. So I got to remember, this is Jammy. Okay, good. That's useful. So we're going to look up libzmq.so.5 Ubuntu Jammy. We're going to just toss that into Google here and see what we can find. Okay. libzmq5, that's from 2018. That's almost certainly not it. Let's look here. Oh, well, that's no good. Someone else is having a bad day. Okay, packages search. Let's look at Jammy. Oh, 500 errors. Okay, so Ubuntu package search is down. That's unfortunate when you're trying to figure out what package you need for an Ubuntu thing. So this says Jammy. It says it's libzmq5. I believe that. That sounds correct-ish to me. So let's try to push a change. Now, the nice thing is that these tests don't take that long to run. So I think we'll be able to get pretty quick cycles in here. No, not the tox. I need to edit the bindep.txt. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a, what was it called? libzmq5. So let's see. We're going to say libzmq5, and we're going to say platform depackage for test and compile. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, okay. This is one I have to be careful about when I backport it, because this change may not be backportable. When do I think my 181 candidate's going to be ready? Honestly, probably today if it wasn't for that. Like, don't worry that much about that, Jacob. Like, you should be, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. You should be referencing your version number, any of the places you need it for test, from the constant. Well, no, I'm telling you, don't be afraid. Like, it doesn't matter which one of us merges first. We're talking like a 5-minute rebase for the other one. So, like, if you merge first, for instance, I would rebase. I would have to change it to version 1.82. If I wrote my test properly, and I'm referencing the constant, not saying I did, because who knows. If I wrote my test properly and updated the constant, I should just rebase, refactor, whatever. I will tell you this, I'm not working that much after the end of the week. So it's one of those things where, like, if you're going to have a lot of time over the holiday and you're going to point it at your change, it's possible your change will be in a better place than mine will be. Because basically I'm working, I have worked pretty much a full day today. I've got a full day tomorrow. And then next week, I mean, I'm going to be around a little bit, but probably working a total of like a day and a half, 2 days spread out over the week. So, like, getting that change updated is not going to be high on my list. So, like, I would imagine that my change isn't going to move until, like, Monday, the January 2nd. But you're going to be dealing with the same problem of that. Like, I'm not going to be there to review it. Who knows who's going to be there to review it. So, like, I would say go at your own pace. If it needs a rebase, it needs a rebase. If yours goes in first and mine needs a rebase, it needs a rebase. This used to be a lot worse. Like, we used to have changes that would conflict more majorly, where, like, multiple people were adding things to the driver interface. Back before we had it split into the hardware interfaces, it was like a single driver interface. Those rebases would be hellish, and, like, you would line them up and stuff. For an API version, it's not nothing to worry about, but being aware of it's a good thing. But you're doing fine on your change, man. I have experienced the same problem you expressed that you were having in IRC of, like, you feel like you're close to done and there's just one more thing, that's part of the reason I'm not giving you a straight answer about mine, because I know that the second I say it's almost done, I'm going to get to that next. There's just one more thing, and I'll have to do that just one more thing. So, like, that's how it goes. So I don't know if that's helpful or not. Hopefully it is. But let's see if updating this BinDep is going to keep CI working for virtual BMC, because that seems to be an important thing. Oh, no. Git commit amend. Very likely that BinDep change is going to break at some point as I backport it, but we'll see. So now, yeah, git review. And we'll see how happy this is in test. I honestly don't know if it's going to make a difference or not. I hope it does. Okay, uploaded patch set 2. I will off after I put your patch set, just sort of look at it here, make sure I got changes in place. That's cool. This must be a new... Oh, this is really nice. Is this a new Gerrit thing from the new version? Oh man, I like this syntax. This is nice. But you see, so while we're waiting for this, I'll talk a little bit about like the breaking changes that we're having to fix in Tox. Most of them were this, which is that these kind of arrays of values now have to be each on their own line. Excuse me, or comma separated. I used each on their own line because I think that looks cleaner. Doesn't really matter as long as it's consistent. And there's another place we've had to fix in some other ones, not here, where if you had skip sdist and use develop both set, one would be ignored. And it kind of makes sense because they don't always make the most sense to work together. But it is kind of annoying because it means you got to think a little bit more deliberately if you see that about what exact behavior you're trying to coax out of it. So let's see if this Joker is running test yet. We can go follow along. If you've ever done this, this is actually a tip right here. If you're OpenStacking and you've never done this before, go to zool.opendev.org, hit status right here on OpenStack, and then put your change number into there and hit enter, and it's going to show you your change on this. So you can do this. My Gerrit shouldn't be different than yours. This is just Gerrit. I don't have any. I have no magic here. This is just the stock Gerrit. Like I don't have any. As far as I'm aware, I don't have like any user scripts or anything that is modifying this. So that's interesting that yours doesn't seem the same. Maybe it's just a Firefox special or something. I don't know. But going back here. So we see we've got the OpenStack BMC test running. We can see it's running. Only one of them is started. You can use this on like one hand to just see where your job is. But the other thing is you can click in here and you can actually see it as it's running. So I can follow along with these logs and wait and see if it runs, if it passes, if it errors installing the new thing that I have in bindep.txt, any of that. So let's have a look and see. So errors like this are tough to deal with because they're very hard to reproduce locally. You really do have to do it like it's in the gate. And there are all sorts of tools where you can run a local VM where it kind of acts like the gate. Quite frankly, I've never found that to be like a good use of my time. And especially for something like this that's only running unit tests, I don't feel too bad about using up any of the nodes just to run the unit tests like I would if this was going to kick off a full like Tempest run and use up like a couple dozen VMs for a few minutes. So all right, it's setting up. So Zool was originally an OpenStack project. But what happened is it sort of graduated from OpenStack up as a top-level project in the foundation. So the Open Infrastructure Foundation still supports Zool, Zool still runs as part of the Open Dev Collaboratory, which is, like this, opendev.org, the Open Dev Collaboratory. But the actual software itself was created for use in OpenStack by OpenStack, and now it's used by lots of other people, Netflix and stuff like that, graduated to its own project. It's super impressive, and I think that that's a pattern we might be seeing emerge some in OpenStack, where like a project that has more use than just in like this specific cloud use case is it can graduate to something more important. Yeah, I mean, if you feel a little bad every time you recheck, that means your mind's in the right place. Rechecking is not always a bad thing to do. Like I said, you can have some awareness. Like with these changes, because we're only changing tox.ini, we're only running unit tests, that's using a VM per job for like 5 or 10 minutes. You're not using that many resources. You're creating a little bit of churn, but realistically, it's not a lot. Now, if we're talking about like an ironic change that's changing actual code that leads to having having like a large number of jobs run, like Tempest jobs and stuff like that, yeah, we really shouldn't recheck those unless we have a good idea as to why it's failing, or alternatively, you have no idea whatsoever why it's failing. So like, it's not a bad thing to do. Here's the big thing. Here's the thing that everyone cares about. It matters so much to OpenStack that it's actually a status check that we do during the technical committee meetings, where if you recheck, you need to have a reason. You need to have some slug to say after recheck. Because they actually track how many projects have just a comment that says recheck with no reasoning behind it. So, like, if you'll notice when you see me recheck, I'll say a reason, and it isn't always concrete. It's not like, bug 1472 broke this. No, not always like that. Sometimes it's, I'm not sure, or this failed in, this specific strange way, and seeing if it happens again. So that way, if someone comes in afterward, they can answer the question as to why it failed. Hey, did this just work? It did. It did work. Hey! Look at that! Success, success, success. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll wait for it to update the patch, and then we'll start backporting it. That's good stuff. But, like, you've got the right idea. Like, it's one of those things where if you didn't feel bad rechecking, you would be wrong. You feel a little bad, that's right. Just make sure you've got some explanation. Maybe ask an IRC if someone's around. But you're not expected to know everything, and that includes knowing for sure if an issue is recurrent or not. The big super bad patterns to avoid are things where it's obvious there's a flaky test. And I have a really good example of that. On some of the stable branches, we hadn't properly configured a Tempest change so that our whole disk jobs were like This is like not entirely correct, but it's a good gist of the story. It was something like our whole disk job had a coin flip chance of using a partition image by mistake because of a bug in how we had Tempest configured. And so that was one of those things where you could sit there and you could recheck, and you would get a pass, and you could get a change pushed through there if you won enough coin flips in a row. But at a certain point of view, at certain points you should see, this error is recurring, I've got to figure out the root cause and solve it. Like, so at the level you're at with ironic contribution right now, I would say it never hurts to mention it in IRC, even if you're like, hey, I saw this error, it's a little weird, I'm not familiar with it, I rechecked. Because then maybe someone like Julia or me or Yuri or Dimitri, anyone who works on it, come by and say, oh yeah, I recognize that. That is, this known issue, or that can be caused if you did this problem wrong or something like that. But the main thing is just actually read the logs. If you've got the same error twice in a row, don't keep rechecking until you have the answer. If you see an error come up 2 or 3 times across like a dozen rechecks, maybe don't recheck that error. Maybe realize it. Well, maybe there's one of the things there. I don't know what that means, Jacob, when you talk about RAID safeguards and inspector. Maybe that's not one that I was in on. Do you want to give a little more detail, or if you put a link up, if we've got a bug or something, I can pull it up on the stream. Come on, Zool. Vote +1. Vote +1. I'm gonna go back to my impatience machine over here, which enables me to check repeatedly if it's done yet or not, whether it's good for me to do it over and over again or not. Oh yeah, Dimitri is the chief inspector guy. Like, I was actually talking to Julia about this a little bit the other day. Like, my perspective on OpenStack's a little weird because I've only ever operated it at super large scale. I've never operated it at any place that used anything other than the IPMI driver. And I've never used it at a place that really heavily used Inspector. So I definitely have like some operational blind points for Ironic, and I tended to contribute in places that I had operational experience with. And Inspector is a pretty big blind spot for me. So I've actually appreciated the work you've been doing, the work Julia's been doing in there, and being able to review that code and understand it. And I've sort of made a personal goal to read enough of that code as we're sort of, pulling Inspector into Ironic, to be able to review and understand what's going on now. So I don't know if you can use Inspector without IPMI, to be clear. But there are lots of other protocols that are supported by Ironic for managing, I believe we call that like our power interface or our management interface, maybe both in some cases. One of the most common alternatives to IPMI is something called Redfish, which is an HTTP API. You call it, you can call it to set boot devices, you can call it to force a machine to reboot or to get certain information about a machine. There's also, we have the vendor drivers. No, IPA does not rely on IPMI. IPA is simply a RAM disk that gets booted on a server. So like, literally, this is actually one of the super cool things, and like Ironic is full of like cool stuff under the covers that you don't really notice unless you're looking for it. But like IPA, it can boot on a machine in lots of different ways. You can boot IPA via just a straight PXE boot. You can boot IPA on a machine using virtual media, which is where you basically put the kernel and the RAM disk that you would PXE boot with, you kind of bake that into usually an ISO file, and then you feed the ISO file to a BMC and it boots off of it. So that's pretty cool. We also support direct HTTP boot, which is where instead of, putting that ISO on there, you maybe create a URL to the ISO image you want it to boot, and you just tell Redfish, go get your ISO URL from there. So like all IPA cares about is that it gets booted on the machine. It doesn't care about how it gets there. IPMI is just the tool we use to tell the machine to power on or off, or tell it to boot from PXE or boot from disk next time, that sort of stuff. That is in a pluggable place in Ironic. Like I said, you can use Redfish there. In fact, there are even people who I think mainly in dev environments. I don't know if we have anyone using this in production. I think we do have at least one deployer using this in production, where you can use an SNMP driver that literally uses SNMP to talk to a PDU to tell it to toggle a power switch on or off. So like all these different ways are there, and like it's a testament to how good those abstractions are in Ironic that you've gotten this far, and like you didn't realize that IPMI is just one of many ways to do it. So like that's pretty exciting. And like, quite frankly, here's the problem with asking a question like that. I'm pretty sure I know the number because I think I worked at a place that probably would qualify as having the largest Ironic deployment. But I would have to find a public-facing number before I would be willing to share that, because I'm still under NDA for that company. I mean, even if I wasn't, I'm not going to tell their internal affairs. Give me a second to Google on my stream machine. and see if I can find the answer. Yeah, well, it doesn't help to Google on my stream machine if I'm using this, so. So I would say, if you look at this, I'm linking it now, from the Boston 2017 summit, you'll see that Yahoo says that they have hundreds of thousands of servers in data centers and that they deployed OpenStack Ironic to manage some of that hardware. So I can't say, quite frankly, I say it like I know and I'm being cagey. I really don't know for sure if all those servers are managed with Ironic, but I can tell you that a place with 100,000 servers, with hundreds of thousands of servers and an Ironic installation is probably going to win that. But to get Ironic to that scale, you kind of have to trade some stuff off. I often, this is going to sound weird, I often think about not the largest, but I think about what are some interesting deployments, right? Like the deployment of Ironic we did at All Metal was interesting because we had an intensive cleaning process that enabled it to be multi-tenant, right? Like I've seen deployments that made heavy use of like conductor groups to have a central Ironic manage multiple sets of servers across multiple different sites with conductor group and networking magic. And that's cool. Like, you're never ever, for almost any piece of software, going to get a straight answer about what the largest or highest scale deployment is, because generally those server counts are just going to be considered proprietary information, which is sad. But also, like I said, you can think about it in terms of cool factor, right? Like, because I'll tell you what, the larger an OpenStack environment is scaled, the less cool stuff that's in it usually, because it's a matter of like the more complexity you have to have. You know, getting one or two OpenStack services to scale to giant is a whole different story than getting every single one of them to. So that's an interesting question, though. That's not a bad question at all. It's certainly fun to think about. Okay, so this is probably going to pass here then, I think, at this point. Oh, this is having to run the full test, including the Tempest, because it's got a bindep.txt change in it. That's unfortunate. So we're probably not going to see this test complete on office hours. However, I'll note that the test that was failing before is passing now, right? Like, let's not just... Oh, crap. There we go. Switch it back over to here. There we go. Yeah, like, all the tests that failed last time are passing, so I'm pretty sure the bindep.txt change is a good change. So I'm actually going to go ahead and backport it one level so that I can have those tests start running. Oh, do we? Oh, we don't have stable branches on Virtual BMC. That's right. This is excellent. Okay, this makes me very happy that we don't have stable branches on Virtual BMC, because once I fix this, it's done. So that's very, very comforting. All right. So we've got that one figured out. That's good stuff. So let's go and look at what's left to do then. Changes. Why is it? Yeah, okay. Like, it's acting like that page was loaded before I was logged in, and that's because it was loaded before I was logged in. I really don't want to look at this inspector client one. This inspector client one is going to be gnarly, because I think it's going to be SQL Alchemy 2.0 related. And you can see it right here. Just database is locked. So this is going to be a rough one is probably going to take Ironic Inspector changes, because this is likely a real failure caused by the recent changes to Ironic Inspector that got rid of auto commit. So this is up your alley, Jacob. You want a nice hard problem? Here you go. This sure is a doozy. Actually, I'm gonna make sure that oh no, not 14 lines. Just that many lines, please. There we go. So that's unfortunate. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is like pre-broken stuff. What time do I have now? I have about 30 minutes left in my office hours. If you'd like to bring something up or look at a change with me, I'm happy to do it. That'd be perfectly fine. I'm always happy to do that. I can table whatever I got on tap to help you out. So what you want to look at? So did you want me to look at something with you or not? Otherwise, I'm going to get started on something else. Oh, what time is it where I am? Oh, it's 3:33 Pacific time. I'm in Washington State in the United States. So like I do basically one at like kind of the extreme early end of my hours, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. And then I do this one 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Thursdays. So that I try to get one on each side to try to be friendlier to folks like you who are not USian. So hey, that's fine. You get yourself some sleep. That's important. Not enough software developers prioritize self-care. I promise you that, like, if you ever find yourself dealing with a hard problem at like midnight and you're like, just a little bit more and I can get past it, write down all your notes, save it, go to sleep, and then in the morning you'll fix it. And I know that's not a luxury everyone has, but oh boy, it should be. It really should be. Yeah, hey Jacob, thanks for coming by. It was nice chatting with you, and good to see you. Hopefully, I hope you win the race. I don't want you to have to rebase. All right, so let's looky here. Let's see. This one hasn't had a vote on the show. This is verified -1. Oh, that's right. Okay. So these IPA changes are not happy. I think I might have had a bad rebase on one of them. But I don't remember. I don't remember which one of these is the earliest, because like basically I want to go to the one that's closest to the master branch and go from there and start working my way backward. So let's go. We're gonna scroll down here. We're gonna look IPA. Bug fix 2.6 I think is the first impacted one here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the bug fix 2.8. Let's look at the bug fix 8.6 breakage here in IPA and see if we can suss out why it broke. Retry limit, retry limit, retry limit, retry limit. I bet that this had something in it that I didn't see. Man, I was fairly convinced that that was going to end up being a like syntax error-y sort of problem. Let's go up. Let's see why Pep8 is hitting your try limit, shall we? no such file or directory to... Oh, this is that problem then. Okay, this is something else that's broken that needs a backport. Okay. That's disappointing. I thought this had already been done, but apparently not. But that's okay. That happens sometimes. Let's see. What's the one before this? Be a change that went into bug fix 9.0 that didn't go in to there. Right here. Bug fix 9.0 job Z. Update get review. So I need to go back one more. I think this is going to be another bend up thing. Yeah, I kind of don't think this is right. I want to see a diff of this. Yeah, I want to look at history here. History. Oh. No package matching Python dev is available in Jammy. Then why did that pass? On the other. So hold on a second. I need to go look. IPA changes. No, they don't have to be open. I want to see the one that just passed. It's literally just 8.3 and 8.6 that are failing. Is it failing in the same way? It is. Failing in the same way? It is. Okay. I feel like this might be a job definition kind of problem. Because bug fix branches are typically like pinned to the correct version of things. Let's look. This is bug fix 8.6. Pinned to Z. As they should be. So I gotta answer the question as to how these are different. Okay, so I'm going to get 2 repos here. I'm going to put IPA clean on Z, which passed. .6, which failed. And I'm going to double check. 8.6 is Z adjacent. Helps if you use the right repo. There we go. So this is a patch that needed backporting. This right here, this patch needs to be backported. I think. Yep, winner, winner, chicken dinner right here. So I can backport July 1st, cherry pick it, 8.6. Does that cherry pick cleanly? It does, it does, it does. Oh boy, I think I got a winner here. And then I'm going to cherry pick. Hold on, I'm going to put this in the way of this. The 8.6 change, please. We'll see if that fixes it or not. But I feel much better now that I at least have an exclamation for it. So to get 8.3, we'll have to get the one from Yoga. So I'm going to take Yoga, cherry pick it to bug fix 8.3. Cherry pick, and now this change is going to be the one that this one depends on. Let me edit. Oh, no, that's not the change I wanted. Got it. Oh, that's what I get. My brain's a little fried right now. Let's see. Yeah, the 8.3 one is the one that I need to... Let me make sure if that's the one I have in mind. Is this going to 8.3? This is going to 8.3. Okay. Okay, so those two, I think, should be able to pass tests now. So let's recap. We had an error where it was saying it couldn't install Python dev, and that appeared to crater the entire Python installation. We went and we looked, and all the other backports had passed test except for the two in the bug fix branch. So if you're not familiar, a bug fix branch is an ironic specific concept where we'll sometimes cut a release kind of in between the OpenStack cycle for our standalone users who want to get those features more rapidly. And so what happened here is this is what happens when a fix is backported only to the branches that are in the OpenStack stable and it missed the bug fixes. So this is not that uncommon of a failure case where you'll see that all the stable branches are happy and the bug fixes are unhappy. And then you just kind of got to play the game of finding the one that was wrong. In this case, I remembered that Python deb bindep change, so I kind of went looking for it, found it, and was able to backport it. And so now we'll see. These will have to run the full Tempest test suite because it's modifying bindep.txt, which does modify more than just unit test. So it'll take a while to see if those are passing or not. But this is definitely good news that we've got this going the way we do. So, yeah, there we go. That has a depends on it. I'm going to make sure that these patches I just put up. Okay, 8.3, 8.3. Yeah, 8.6 is this one. I'm going to make sure to tag these, as is the Ironic standard. Tag it with Ironic Week Prio so that Ironic developers will see this come up in their review queue and it will get reviewed. If you're ever an Ironic contributor and you're not tagging your stuff with Ironic Week Pro, that's why you're not getting reviews, because that's the dashboard that almost everyone used to review it. So, all right. Well, now we're going to look back here. Let's come back here and let's take stock again. So, verified. This is a failure from a very old change. So I'm not going to worry about that for today. Yeah, this is my API change. I'll have to do that PR feedback, but it's a little late in the day to get started on something that requires that much brain power. Let's see, these are the Tox ones that I just updated. Oh, this is an IPA Usuri job failed, and an IPA Victoria job failed, and a bug fix 8.1. So, is the bindep the proper fix? Oh. I'm actually going to wait and see the earlier ones pass, because I really need to make sure that goes back the right ways, and I don't want to mix up two things. You want to do one change at a time so that you know that the change you're doing is the right one. So I'm going to sort of sit on that one. We do see, like, a lot of these IPA ones are failing, but I need to wait until I have the higher level IPA one passing. Yeah, this is not too bad of a case here we got going on. Oh, yeah, I see the outgoing reviews come across again. Let's look and see. So I'm going to wrap up with a little bit of code review, make sure that any of the priority changes have been reviewed. And then we're going to call it an office hours. So, hey, look at this. Look at all these changes by me that are tagged. Good stuff. Oof, I'm not sure I want to look at that right now, honestly. But let's open it and see. You know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. So I'm going to go in here, go back to the change, and I'm going to put that Ironic Inspector's CClockMe 2.0 fix in there and see if that resolves the issue. So we'll see how that works. This is workflowed. Oh, workflowed, rechecked. Okay, so I had this approved at patch set 16. So we can just look at the diff from 16 to 18 and see if anything meaningful has changed. Okay, let's see. Session, delete attribute data, session attribute, role attribute, session attribute where. Yeah, I mean, that query looks like what I would expect. Okay, so I'll put that +2 on it. I'm happy with that landing as long as it passes. We can always make the tox.ini consistent later if we have to. Getting this landed is more important. So we'll see what happens. So there IP mining compatibility. So this is verified -1. If it's verified -1, I'm probably not going to look at your change. Because I feel like you aren't looking at your change if you've got a V-1 on it and you expect reviews. Fixed untype object is not editable in RAID. Do not update RAID configs if operation is synchronous. First, it is not needed. Second, it will not be cleaned up by async periodics. As a result, the data remains on the node and causes error the next time the node is in cleaning. This sounds like you're fixing a reported bug, but there's no bug reference here. That's not a deal breaker, but if there is a bug reference, please add it. Okay. So I usually don't do this, but I'm going to knack this patch. Let me comment on it, buddy. Come on. What the heck? The new Garrett is weird sometimes. Let me make sure it's not like... Oh, that's exactly what's killing it, is it's got something on here that Firefox doesn't like. Please add a notice for operators who are impacted from this bug on how to recover it, especially if you plan on backporting this change. Making an extra note in there just that it's clear that my -1 is about the release note, not about the bug graph. Then we'll publish it. This is a nice, easy one. The thing I always remember is I'll come through and this will email me now. I've commented on it, so if I see that the release note's updated, I can do what I did with the other patch. Just look at the difference of the patch sets and land it. All right. Fix volume deletion on newer iDRACs. That's a sushi change. So I am very careful about touching sushi stuff. I'm not as familiar with it. So I'm going to look and see if this is straightforward. Is it okay that this has like... Yeah, I'm not going to put a vote on this. I don't understand enough of the context to have a good vote on this. So I think it's best that I not vote on that because I want to nitpick stuff, and quite frankly, I don't have the knowledge needed to review it. I think that's part of why I'm uncomfortable with it. I have an alternate. Oh, hey, this is Kuba's change. He was here earlier chatting with us. This is the one he was joking about having to race with me. But I know he's already gotten some feedback on that, so I'm not gonna add to his pile right now. Oh yeah, this is a fun one. We had this here. So 4. So we need to look at 5, 4 to 5, and see how it's changed. Yeah, this is V minus 1 at the top of the chain. So I'm not touching this. Yeah, we're getting into old changes now. I'm not going to have a look at these. I think I'm going to call it here. We got a couple minutes left until 4. If you've tuned in for this whole time, thanks very much for coming by, for listening. My last office hours of 2022 will be Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. That translates into something UTC. Go to j.jvf.cc/office hours. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, like 1500 maybe, something like that. But I'll see you here then. I might even have something special planned as like a year end, maybe do like an ironic year in review or something. But either way, I'll be here, and that'll be the last time you'll see me here streaming in my office hours until January. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see y'all on